It's all good.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Burn the Wagon. I have my guest here, Alex, today. So we're going to be discussing a whole bunch of things, music, life, and living in Santa Cruz as people of color. So go ahead and give you an intro. So we'll give you, like, where are you from, stuff like that.
Hey, what's up? My name is Alex. I'm originally from upstate New York. Moved here like 6 years ago. Living in the Live Oak area. Ithaca, New York to be exact. Upstate. Very similar to kind of Santa Cruz, actually.
Okay.
In that kind of like college, kind of liberal, kind of hippie, doing a little too much, like a little activist, but like type of vibe. Just a little more diverse because we got New York City right there that just comes up and it's smaller. But that's where I've been. That's about it. Those two places, my locations.
Honestly, when I think of New York, I don't think of like you said, like Santa Cruz shit. Like
everybody thinks city.
Yeah, my homie said he went to Hartwick, a college out there or something like that. And I was just thinking, like, one day we were watching like New York City shit. I was like, oh, look, that's your city, Ern. He was like, nah,
Almost everybody I meet too who lives out here, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, where you from? Wherever on the East Coast, the one place that they're from is never the specific city that everybody's thinking of. Because like where I'm from, it's just straight. I grew up on like 150 acres in the forest, like up a hill, like look like Narnia. Go up there, big wooden house in there, and then just forest. Like that's where I grew up in. And then you probably drive like 20 minutes into town. My parents had us out in the cut, which is nice as shit, but like. And 20 into town. In town, that kind of like gives you like that downtown Santa Cruz vibe. That is like kind of then like different splat on it. And then you go up colleges on the side, but it's just like hills and it's straight green. So the green that like Santa Cruz is trying to rock with, but it's just lush.
Okay.
Green. It's like.
Is it trees too, or just
trees, green grass? It's just.
That's what's up.
As fuck.
Yeah, because I've never been out of California, so I don't know anything about, like, I've never seen things outside of California, so that trips me out. Yeah,
it's beautiful. I definitely miss the seasons, like the fact that, like, you know, we get seasons in full in New York. You know, you get the full like fall with the leaves and the changing color, and then you get like the very like hot but kind of stucky humid summer, and then you get these really crazy bloom seasons for like spring. And it's just beautiful because it's just like hella flowers. So you get the whole thing in full.
Nice. Did you go to high school and stuff out there too?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Small ass high school?
No, not really. My high school wasn't like small, but it wasn't huge. I'd say there's probably like 1,200 kids in like the whole school.
That's way more than mine. Mine was 200.
Yeah, there's probably like 200 kids in like a portion of the class.
Cool. And is that where you started getting into music? And that's my first question. Is when you got into music and started your singing, because you got a beautiful voice and you rock that thing, man.
Man, I mean, music I've been obsessed with my whole life, you know, like since I was a kid. I mean, really, for real. And it wasn't even about music, it was about sound. It was about, I was so fascinated by sounds, and not only sounds, but the like correlation between sounds and watching somebody's tone of voice when they had that tone and that sound and that emotion, and then seeing it happen again in other people, even though it wasn't them, but it looked and it toned like that. That's what toned me. I was like, hold up, I know the same, but this is that. So to recognize, you know, like, oh, when this when there's anger, you know how we see, you know, but like the way that my mind connected those two in tone was like connected each other, and like what that became the obsessiveness of like tone. It wasn't even music, it was like tone and sound, and then having understanding that you can do it anywhere, because I would be fascinated by like seeing a musician or seeing somebody do this and that, but then it was literally me being like, how do I do that in the simplest way, because I don't have that. And that's how I figured. That's really like what it was. I've always, of course, like I have my favorites I was obsessed with, like Whitney Houston, but it wasn't like, oh, I just started writing music, or that wasn't even a thing until I wrote my first album. Yeah, I wrote all my first songs on that first album. That's the first set of songs I wrote.
That's crazy. And did you always, like, how long ago did you learn the keyboards?
I taught myself how to play the piano for the album.
Wow. So this is all later in life that you're learning to do these things. That's dope.
And it's really been like the fact that I've been able to tone myself and hear these things and have this understanding of this language that is more of like an emotional language that has to do with sound. Because I also see it too, but in color. So it's like I will, even when I'm in the studio, I'll tell somebody, I'll be like, no, listen, I need you to make that note, and I need that note to be lavender because right now it's purple, but I need it to move like the type of light that's moving on a like lighthouse at night. I mean, I'm extremely like picture descriptive, and I'm like, that's what I can give you. Wow. And then they're like, cool, I know. And I'm like, yeah, but don't ask me. And not don't ask me, I definitely did a lot of classical stuff, and I definitely did things in choir, and I definitely know how to sight sing, but don't ask me to read first or do that. It's like the last thing. I've learned a lot. Most of my insecurities from music based off the fact that I was in like classical or structured programs, and it was like, oh, you can't read, you can't do music, and that was what defined whether I knew how to be able to conduct sound and know what I was doing. And that just
so you
was
just feel that shit.
Yeah, so I was like,
that's lit. That's so cool. So you did take some music classes in high school or no? Nothing.
I mean, I was just in the choir, but that was really because like you literally had to be in the choir. I fucked around so much, but the thing is that because I never paid attention, like I was like I'm listening. People always used to tell me that like I wasn't paying attention. I'm like, you don't have to necessarily. I don't have to show you attention to know that I'm paying attention. I'm all ears, baby. You know.
And did your parents encourage that or?
I mean, I did musicals and stuff like that. It was really just because I wanted to be active, and so it was like musicals. But I played a fuck ton of sports, and I had a bunch of siblings. It was just the thing. It's also like how I just talk. Yeah. It was just like very animated. It was just me, and then when I did decide, like, hey, I want to take a voice lesson. Because of like trauma shit that happened, and they were like, what do you think will help her? And they were like, maybe voice therapy. My parents definitely were like, all right, we'll pay for this, we'll do this, you know, this works.
That's cool. That's support. That's support.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even I think now, more so than ever. Like it was a kid, not so much, but now that I know, it's like I'm a single mom, so I can't do none of this stuff without my parents. All my parents. My mom commutes back and forth, but my parents are lawyers. But so my mom commutes back and forth from here to New York all the time. She's also a law professor at Cornell still.
That's a mission.
But but they out here in I'm 1 of 9, but they help. I'm 4th. I'm 4th. Yeah, I'm 4th and 1 of 9, but like I couldn't. For my son to have support like that, so I can be able to, because it is my bread maker. And like when COVID happened and I lost my job and I had I didn't get unemployment and I had to do all that stuff. I literally had nothing but myself to be able to make income, and I had to be able to figure out how to make income creatively over the internet. Because I couldn't go nowhere and we couldn't do anything. I had a baby. I was like, what you gonna do? Sis, you better sing,
Sing that heart out.
And I hadn't been doing that. Like, I hadn't been performing. People be like, oh, all this is brand spanking new. Like, everybody's seeing me at, like, the very, like, literally, the bud, like, the seed. I haven't been writing. I haven't been performing. I haven't been doing that. No, this is just, like, I just decided that I wanted to do it.
That's so crazy because
I never thought I could do it.
When you see you on stage and you hear your voice, I feel like this shit's been written for 10 years. You've been practicing for 10 plus years. Yeah. Your voice is very, you can feel it, I love it. And I heard you say when we were at an event once, if people would saw your parents, they're as white can be. Yeah. And let's talk about that because I'm adopted as well. So, and not a lot of people know that because I was adopted by a Native American woman, and my biological mom is white as rice too. So, it's a thing that people don't really know about me. Yep. And let's talk about that. Like, how was that growing up being adopted? Did people ever make you feel like you were adopted?
As fuck. Okay. Especially with where I grew up, the size of my family. First of all, so my parents have 2 biological kids. The oldest 2 brothers, and they're white, and then there's 7 of us are adopted. So we're all from different families. So like, there's that. Like, I'm 4th. I mean, everybody. I mean, I didn't even like really know my parents were white until somebody pointed it out. Now, in terms of like it mattering to a conscious level of you speaking on it, and quote unquote bringing the insecurity that until it mattered, until somebody else said, hey, this matters. It mattered.
Yeah.
To me, you just probably you're like, these are my parents.
Yeah.
Of course, later on, I definitely would have felt that, but without that interruption, who knows what it would have been like. But yeah, that was right off the bat. That was like the second you enter school and somebody's like, hey, parents are white. Like, okay, I like that.
How old were you?
When I was adopted?
Yeah.
I was like 6 months.
Oh, okay.
But I was in, like 10 different foster homes in the course of
that 6 months?
In that course, as a baby, yeah.
Nice.
And the crazy part is that the like 6 of them, a large number of them were not like English speaking speaking families. Yeah, so there was like I looking at like the pictures because I have a bunch of like looking at the pictures in the book and the whole crate of all things. There's like all these different pictures of me, all these different families, all these different ethnicities, families with this little black baby, and I'm like,
you did live a bunch of different lives at 6 months.
It is what it is. And then top to my family. My mom was really, really young, which she was really young. My mom was not though. She got pregnant when she was 12, and she had me when she was 13. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And have you ever reconnected with her at all?
I have. I texted her today because I was stressed, and she was like, "Pray." And I was like,
that's really good that you
But
connected with her.
oh yeah, it was some aligning stuff. My little sister, who was, I don't remember how old she was. She just turned 18 the other day. But I had just graduated from high school, and I got this letter in the mail, and it was from my birth sister and my mom. And normally with adoptions, they scratch the names off. At least from my agency, they would the letter was sent. You don't get the name and anything until 18. But I was 18, and my sister had wrote the number of their phone number in there, and I was like, call it. And I remember because I was working for my dad's law firm at the time. I was a secretary, and I was bored on work, and I was just like, fuck around, call them.
Do it.
And I did, and she freaked out. She was like, oh my gosh, it's nice. And then hung up the phone on me, and then called back, and this is like, I couldn't even emotion, just like whatever, universe been cracked or whatever. And all of a sudden, boom, boom, I just hear hella Jamaicans on the phone, just hella thick accents, and I was like, what's going on? And it was my freaking, my mom had called everybody, like, she's home. And I tried to come to find out, whole time my mom was always 4 hours away from me. She was in New York City. She was in Brooklyn the whole time.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
And I met her in Brooklyn. My mom, my sister, my aunt for just a few hours. My parents took me down, and we stay and bing and talk every now and then and this and that. And it's very interesting because of especially our age.
Yeah.
And I have siblings who are the same age. It's the dynamic, and so, but it's a beautiful gift that doesn't need a description.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm really happy that you guys have reconnected. Yeah. That's good. That's really good because that probably helped a lot of things in your mental. I feel like
it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Anytime you close, it closes one thing, but it opens another thing.
True.
I will say though, recently I got to a point to be able to ask the questions. I didn't know when I was going to be able to reach this point. Even meeting her, it's you think you're going to ask me some questions, but you might not.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I was able to ask some questions that I played a million times in my head as a kid. A million times. I was ready. I was like, yo, whenever the time is. Or the questions that I was you're never going to ask her, but I always wanted to. And I asked the questions, and I was really shocked by the way I was not moved by it. Not moved in the sense regardless of her answer, the thing I gave myself was being able. The thing that we had was you were able to ask it. You gave that whole thing of that ghost that doesn't exist, of that you were never gonna be able to ask that question. It didn't matter what the answer was. It's the fact that I was able to ask it that was
that helped you get that off your.
There's such a I'm a big storyteller. I'm a storyteller, So for me, the resolution, the circle. The Bing, that's everything.
Man.
I put immense effort in my life to make sure things go full circle.
Man.
Around and to finish the whatever, not necessarily finish it, but as much as I can. Maybe a control freak, maybe that's a little much, but to put the piece on it.
Yeah.
To put the piece
on it. That's amazing.
To put the piece on the worry, the anxiety, to let it know that it can be laid to rest.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I was adopted day one of my life. my mom, she took care of my biological mom throughout her life because she was addicted to drugs and doing all kind of stuff. I have 3 siblings, but I was the only one on paper legitimately adopted. And the first time we spoke, it was like, she didn't really know me. I didn't really ask questions. I was young. So eventually I am going to ask those questions like you're saying, and then a weight will be lifted. But when I did meet her, I definitely see what you're saying. Like,
yeah.
Okay, now that's started, okay, we can start like this other process of doing other things, you know.
And the weird thing too is that when the time came up, like it was not even like that was on my mind. Like when I was talking to her, it was not. I was venting about a boy or something, or something, you know, that was had nothing, and it was just where I was moving the emotion. It was like boom, 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 and I just was like, how come? You know, I just asked a question. Turns out all that shit that I was like, you know, you start talking about one thing and you think it's about nothing. You get down to that root, and that shit says, help me.
Yeah, you guys just went down the rabbit hole, and that's awesome. Okay, so my next question I had was, you talked about being in Santa Cruz for 6 years, and I just, coming from a place like, well, isn't the place you grew up, is it like diverse as New York City?
Way more diverse
than
Santa Cruz is.
Okay, so like coming to Santa Cruz being not very diverse, how has your experience been living in Santa Cruz as a person of color?
It's been a time. It's been a time. Regardless of New York being diverse, because I grew up with white parents, even though the world is really right, and depending on where you are, if you're not in very dominant black places, you are in pretty heavily white places. You know, recently, when I first moved here and Peyton was younger, I would say like it's been on point. There's so many points about it. There's so many different ways to answer that question. Yeah. But like honestly, since you are literally asking me today, like in the past last week, I had to deal with several things racially that hit on for my son. My son is 7.
Wow.
Like we dealt with the Edmund for the first time at his school when my son was right when we came back from COVID.
Wow.
Right when we came back from COVID. We deal with some shit. Randomly, my boss decided to drop that word the other day it was just the fact that he dropped it. And so there's a privilege for sure. Yeah. Right? That's really what I'm getting at. Is like, it is great and it is grand for a lot of things, but like I don't even know if it's even like being, that's why I don't know what's the line of being a person of color. It's a person who, maybe being a person of color, it's this whole, it's the privilege. And that is actually what it is. Because I know, you're always going to get that, you know what it is. There's like an unspoken thing that you always get, right? So you always have to, like front first. Yeah. You don't have to. You choose to if you want to. But then you get the other flash of it. I don't know. There's so many. I don't have like the terminology and words for the invisible lining that does happen that we all who experience know which is. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. Santa Cruz is so white, but they want to be so ghetto. There's definitely a pull to be like, we're part of, we're here to make a change, right? Yeah. But the not understanding of listening. I mean, that goes as far as more than just Santa Cruz. But for a town that is very progressive or speaks on it, use a lot of words heavily, but then there's a lot of like the same still inaction behind it. And I have so many feels about being a person in color, so many feels about it. It's really also, it's like, it's just, Santa Cruz could use a good sit down and be quiet and listen and really listen, but also give the people of color, give themselves the opportunity to really show up and show out without the guard. It's like, how do you break that for that? Yeah. How do you really sit down and let us know it's safe enough that we can really show you something? Yeah. You feel me? Yeah. That's always, and you do. I mean, I do every single time I go up on the stage. That's for sure. And you show that. I'm always like, damn, about to drop this veil right now. You know? But it's a challenge. It's going to be a challenge wherever we go in this area.
Absolutely. I remember one time working at Gale's, which is one of the widest places in Santa Cruz. Some lady grabbed my hair, just grabbed my hair, and she just was like, I just wanted to see if it was real.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was super young at the time, and I didn't say anything because I was embarrassed, because that had never happened to me before. Like, I had never been in a position where somebody randomly just touched my hair. So, just like Santa Cruz just doesn't realize that, like you say, it wants to be progressive, but it doesn't want to do the work to be progressive.
I think it's always hard to like get a slap in the face of the reality that respect is needed, and respect has to go both ways. And you may have the privilege, but that does not give you the respect that you think it holds. Because
you're right. I love it here. Like, I love being here. I love living here. You know, it's fucking dope. It's got dope things about it. It's got dope people here. It's just there's that aspect of it that's, you know, that doesn't want to just be fully progressive. Yeah,
there's always this, like, almost every I'll say maybe every 4 days. I go through like a period of like, is this town worth shaking some shit up from?
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not, is this town worth? It's just more of like, as much as it's like, you know, straight up brother, like, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck? Like, no, you're gonna have to adjust the fact that this culture, like, we look different.
Yeah.
Things are a little different. That doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean it's out of pocket. You have to be, we have been so uncomfortable. Get used to it.
Yeah.
Join the team, baby. Then we'll be on the same page. Then we'll have understanding. But you have to be open. And I always am like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. But a lot of people did a lot of work to get us here.
Yeah.
To be even at the point where we can sit semi-comfortably in what is very uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
So it's like, you know, the work is not done.
Definitely.
We still working on it.
And like the homie Tyree says, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's, for real. Yeah. Before I changed the name of my album, that is what it was going to be. It was going to be Comfortably Uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because we've like literally sat, you know, there's just so the ignorance about like what we feel based off what we don't present.
Yeah.
Like, it's so loud.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, like in the beginning of COVID, like we weren't able to go anywhere, and I was forced to, you know, fucking watch George Floyd videos, watch all this type of shit, and then
y'all be stabbed for 5 seconds.
Yeah,
I told every single one of them. Every single person. Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you, but every single person during COVID who was like white or whatever, who posted some stuff about like yes, this is definitely a movement. I see our country going right. I hit every single one of those people with like, I'm just sitting here because I know exactly what's gonna happen. Y'all gonna forget. It's not gonna matter. We're gonna remember this. It's gonna be a hashtag on your memories. Because for us, I remember white people who would address me about stuff like that and then would get mad. I had this white woman in my inbox once told me that she didn't like the way that I said something about how I responded to her. And I was like, she's like, with the whole progressive George Floyd thing going on. And I was like, for you, that's new, right? For us, we've been knowing about our George Floyds every motherfucking day. Y'all is late.
Yeah.
And the fact that you is late is the issue.
Yep.
Like, what? If we really want to talk about every motherfucker every day up until then, y'all would not be able to even catch your breath. You would die.
There would be not enough days.
There would be
not enough times to share on your.
That's what I mean. You know, there would be. It started then. You think just because it started when we started having flashbacks on our memory didn't mean the flashbacks didn't start before that. The trauma been there, baby. That's why we all act a hot mess. It's the flashbacks.
Let me see if there's any. Okay, no questions here today. If anybody has any questions, just let us know. For sure. I think that was all the topics I had. Please promote your album coming up. Please promote any music that you're going to be performing. I know you just performed the night at the Kava Bar. How was that?
Yeah, that was dope. Everybody who played freaking killed it. It was amazing.
I saw some of the videos.
It was dope to see such a badass lineup of women. I was like, go ahead, ladies. I was like, but it was pretty and it's pretty packed in there. Matilda, this girl Matilda, she's beautiful. Lullaby Voice, it was like sitting on a cloud. I was really happy with my set. The lighting changes everything when you do a good set. You got good lights, it's like game over. Misha's great. Allison, she was great. Karen always killed it. I had to dip out. Mama sings, and like almost anytime after I do that, anytime I do like a performance where I'm like, which is every time, and I call it making gumbo, music juju. I'm like white. It's such a spiritual thing for me because I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm like about to send, Steve, and deliver for y'all real quick, especially, and then I'm like, and you get up and you like walk through people and you're like, okay, I want to be really nice to you right now, but I also feel like my soul is about to faint because we just did some things. So.
Yeah, you're putting out a lot. You're putting out a lot. Like you said, you're from your brain to your soul is fire.
Yep.
You're putting that out there, and that means you're doing it for the, you're doing it for the right reasons.
Doing work.
Yeah, you're doing work, putting in work. Anything else that you wanna?
I have there's the Vets Hall. The Vets Hall on the 11th. I'm performing from 5 to 5:45, and then we do another one. There's the hip hop showcase that's going on at Cava this Saturday at 8:30 till I don't know.
It's probably till late.
Yeah, and I know I'm doing that, and then I have my album that comes out on the 1st. You can find on my Instagram, Snuffleufflex, or Alexandra the Author, when the listening party will be, and then the album release party. And then I have another a hip hop EP that's dropping in March.
Dude, shit.
Yeah, and then I have the last one, volume 2 of the second album comes out in like towards the end of the year. So I got like 3 projects dropping.
Hell yeah.
In 2022, I'm like running for it.
That's what's up, man. I'm stoked to hear all that shit. I'm stoked to see you live again. I'm stoked that you're starting to perform again. That's what's up, man.
It's good. I'm
happy.
It's so good.
Yeah. I'm happy. Thank you guys for watching. Anybody that joined in, anybody that wants to join me, please tap in. Thank you, Alex, for being here today. And peace and love and happiness.